Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The act of making a record, especially an audio record. She watched the recording from a soundproof booth. A signal that encodes something, e.g., picture or sound, that has been recorded. A storage device on which information, sounds or images, have been recorded. The act of arranging and adapting a piece of music. Something written, especially copied from one medium to another, as a typewritten version of dictation. The act of making a record, especially an audio record. A sound or television recording, e.g., from a broadcast to a tape recording. Genetics. The organic process whereby the DNA sequence in a gene is copied into mRNA. The process whereby a base sequence of messenger RNA is synthesized on a template of complementary DNA. The act of creating something that is different from the materials that went into it. Any nonverbal action or gesture that encodes a message. Be a signal for or a symptom of. The economic indicators signal that the euro is undervalued. Any nonverbal action or gesture that encodes a message. Signals from the boat suddenly stopped. Communicate silently and non-verbally by signals or signs. The diner signaled the waiters to bring the menu. An electric quantity, voltage or current or field strength, whose modulation represents coded information about the source from which it comes. Any incitement to action. He awaited the signal to start. Notably out of the ordinary. The year saw one signal triumph for the Labour Party. Structure displaying a board on which advertisements can be posted. The highway was lined with signboards. A perceptible indication of something not immediately apparent, as a visible clue that something has happened. He showed signs of strain. Mark with one signature. Write one's name, on. She signed the letter and sent it off. Make the sign of the cross over someone in order to call on God for protection. Consecrate. Any nonverbal action or gesture that encodes a message. Signals from the boat suddenly stopped. Engage by written agreement. They signed 2 new pitchers for the next season. Used of the language of the deaf. An event that is experienced as indicating important things to come. It was a sign from God. Approve and express assent, responsibility, or obligation. Have you signed your contract yet? Communicate silently and non-verbally by signals or signs. He signed his disapproval with a dismissive hand gesture. Astrology, one of 12 equal areas into which the zodiac is divided. Having an indicated pole, as the distinction between positive and negative electric charges. Charges of opposite sign. A character indicating a relation between quantities. Don't forget the minus sign. A fundamental linguistic unit linking a signifier to that which is signified. The bond between the signifier and the signified is arbitrary. A gesture that is part of a sign language. A public display of a message. He posted signs in all the shop windows. Be engaged by a written agreement. He signed to play the casino on December 18th. Communicate in sign language. I don't know how to sign, so I could not communicate with my deaf cousin. Medicine. Any objective evidence of the presence of a disorder or disease. There were no signs of asphyxiation. Place signs, as along a road. Sign an intersection. A device that preserves information for retrieval. A device that preserves information for retrieval. Combining audio and video recording in such a way that the sound is perfectly synchronized with the action that produced it, especially synchronizing the movements of a speaker's lips with the sound of his speech. Combining audio and video recording in such a way that the sound is perfectly synchronized with the action that produced it, especially synchronizing the movements of a speaker's lips with the sound of his speech. Combining audio and video recording in such a way that the sound is perfectly synchronized with the action that produced it, especially synchronizing the movements of a speaker's lips with the sound of his speech. Combining audio and video recording in such a way that the sound is perfectly synchronized with the action that produced it, especially synchronizing the movements of a speaker's lips with the sound of his speech. Becoming proficient in the use of something, having mastery of. His mastering the art of cooking took a long time. The act of making a master recording from which copies can be made. He received a bill for mastering the concert and making 100 copies. Record or recording made by a bolometer. A recording of breathing made with a spirograph. The recording, column or paper strip, on which the constituents of a mixture are adsorbed in chromatography. Record or recording made by a bolometer. The recording produced by an oscillograph. An audible acoustic wave frequency. A recording of acoustic signals. The audible part of a transmitted signal. They always raise the audio for commercials. The sound elements of television. A recording of acoustic signals. Being 100 more than 300. A digitally encoded recording on an optical disc that is smaller than a phonograph record, played back by a laser. A soft bluish-white ductile malleable toxic bivalent metallic element, occurs in association with zinc ores. A debt instrument issued by a bank, usually pays interest. The basic unit of luminous intensity adopted under the System A International do nights, equal to 1/60th of the luminous intensity per square centimeter of a black body radiating at the temperature of 2046 degrees Kelvin. A digitally encoded recording on an optical disc that is smaller than a phonograph record, played back by a laser. A digitally encoded recording on an optical disc that is smaller than a phonograph record, played back by a laser. A recording of a song that was first recorded or made popular by somebody else. They made a cover of a Beatles song. Form a cover over. The grass covered the grave. Clothe, as if for protection from the elements. Cover your head. A fixed charge by a restaurant or nightclub over and above the charge for food and drink. The act of concealing the existence of something by obstructing the view of it. The cover concealed their guns from enemy aircraft. Travel across or pass over. The caravan covered almost 100 miles each day. Span an interval of distance, space or time. The period covered the turn of the century. A covering that serves to conceal or shelter something. Under cover of darkness. Include in scope. Include as part of something broader. Have as one sphere or territory. This should cover everyone in the group. Fire that makes it difficult for the enemy to fire on your own individuals or formations. Artillery provided covering fire for the withdrawal. Put something on top of something else. Cover the meat with a lot of gravy. A natural object that covers or envelops. Under a covering of dust. The protective covering on the front, back, and spine of a book. Make up for shortcomings or a feeling of inferiority by exaggerating good qualities. Bedding that keeps a person warm in bed. He pulled the covers over his head and went to sleep. Hide from view or knowledge. The president covered the fact that he bugged the offices in the White House. Be responsible for reporting the details of, as in journalism. The cub reporter covered New York City. Covering for a hole, especially a hole in the top of a container. Put the cover back on the kettle. Act on verbally or in some form of artistic expression. The course covered all of Western civilization. Sit on, eggs. The female covers the eggs. Protect by insurance. The insurance won't cover this. Cover as if with a shroud. Copulate with a female, used especially of horses. The horse covers the mare. A false identity and background, especially one created for an undercover agent. Her new name and passport or cover for her next assignment. Be responsible for guarding an opponent in a game. Be sufficient to meet, defray, or offset the charge or cost of. Is this enough to cover the check? Help out by taking someone's place and temporarily assuming his responsibilities. She is covering for our secretary who is ill this week. Hold within range of an aimed firearm. Invest with a large or excessive amount of something. She covered herself with glory. Maintain a check on, especially by patrolling. The second officer covered the top floor. Play a higher card than the one previously played. Smith covered again. Protect or defend, a position in a game. He covered left field. Provide for. The grant doesn't cover my salary. Provide with a covering or cause to be covered. Cover her face with a handkerchief. Spread over a surface to conceal or protect. This paint covers well. To take an action to protect against future problems. Count the cash in the drawer twice just to cover yourself. A recording of a song that was first recorded or made popular by somebody else. A recording of a song that was first recorded or made popular by somebody else. A recording of acoustic signals. Measuring instrument consisting of a narrow strip, cloth or metal, marked in inches or centimeters and used for measuring lengths. The carpenter should have used his tape measure. A recording made on magnetic tape. The several recordings were combined on a master tape. Register electronically. Record on videotape. Memory device consisting of a long thin plastic strip coated with iron oxide, used to record audio or video signals or to store computer information. He took along a dozen tapes to record the interview. A long thin piece of cloth or paper is used for binding or fastening. He used a piece of tape for a belt. Fasten or attach with tape. Tape the shipping label to the box. The finishing line for a foot race. He broke the tape in record time. A A recording made on magnetic tape. A recording made on magnetic tape. Broadcasting visual images of stationary or moving objects. She is a star of screen and video. A recording of both the visual and audible components, especially one containing a recording of a movie or television program. The visible part of a television transmission. Computer science. The appearance of text and graphics on a video display.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.